This video is focused on circumstances when it's better to use MetaGami than Excel, specifically when powerful or even basic analytics are necessary and Excel, without learning macros and pivot tables and a variety of different things, is just not designed to accommodate those analytics. And as part of this, we're going to provide a demonstration of an example where MetaGami moved data from a spreadsheet where data was being presented into a mode that provided for actionable intelligence. A few months ago, our grandson turned 16, and recently, with the help of his parents, was able to buy a beautiful 2004 Toyota Camry, a 15-year-old vehicle that looks nice, is very functional for his purposes, and gets good gas mileage. Sometime in the future, he may look to something with higher performance characteristics, something that responds more quickly to change in circumstances, and something that is sexier and more perfect for the kind of life he would like to lead at that time. It's very analogous to Excel. Excel is a marvelous tool. I use it all the time, as do hundreds of millions of other people. Excel does a very good job of the things it was designed to do. But oftentimes, performance that's not available or readily available in Excel is necessary. Performance where actionable intelligence, information is produced rather than views of data, as is the case with Excel. Now, you can add capabilities to Excel to make it look like a powerful tool, but just as if you were to retrofit the 2004 15-year-old Toyota Camry with a spoiler, with fancy wheels, even with a better engine, when it's all said and done, it's still going to be a 15-year-old Toyota Camry. Unlike Excel, that's been enhanced to accommodate its certain kinds of analytical capabilities, MetaGami was designed with all of that in mind. Designed for powerful, easy to access, easy to create, easy to understand analytical power. The example I mentioned is one where an organization is seeking donations, and they have a variety of canvassers that go out each day and knock on doors. This spreadsheet captures data about those encounters. In this first few columns, you see green columns that are data, pure data, and yellow columns that, while they are data, they're also representative of views that you'd like to have of the other data. Wouldn't it be helpful to know the number of door knocks, the number of completed door knocks by office, by date, by campaign, by user ID, by zip code, or any combination of those? The spreadsheet has a row for each canvasser for each date when they did canvassing, and it goes on for almost 60 columns. These columns are farther to the right than those at the top. BG is the 58th column, I believe. There's not data in these far right columns, but there could be. And the ability to gather anything meaningful, to really understand how these canvassers are doing, or what zip codes are most effective, or how one campaign or one office compares to another, is just not easily attainable. So we moved the data electronically into MetaGami and created a table in MetaGami that has all the same columns. You see here the first three views to the left of the table. All the same data is represented here, but like with a spreadsheet, it's pretty meaningless until we create a new page in MetaGami that contains data more granularly. These blue these blue fields that you see here are called identifier fields, and they are used to focus the remainder of the data on the page. So the data in this table is specific to this user ID for this campaign/CMD, this office, and this date. There are multiple values within each user ID, each campaign, each office, and each date that can be selected, and the table that's presented is then specific to those values. But the beauty of MetaGami is with a simple copy of that page, we can now see the data at a higher level of aggregation if we want to. This data shows all of the canvassers for all of the dates when they did canvassing for the particular campaign number 1 and the office, the Georgia Public Broadcasting. In addition, we've added the capability to look at data within a particular date range, as is the case here. So while there is data really in April as well as May, the data in this table for campaign 1 for the Georgia Public Broadcasting Office is specific to the period May 1 through May 30th. With another copy of the page and the addition of a new identifier field canvasser, we now get a more meaningful view. This provides information on how each canvasser did on that campaign within this office. Since the from and to fields are blank, all of the time data is included. And here we see 4 rows of data, one for each date when Andrew did canvassing. And as I said earlier, there would be a table of this type specific to each of the other canvassers. And then at the bottom of the page, the total of the number of door knocks that Andrew conducted over those days, and the total of each of the other key columns. But wouldn't it be nice if we could compare one canvasser to another? And we do that by copying the page again, getting rid of the canvasser identifier field, and instead making it a column in this table, and then using the totals from each of the preceding instances of that preceding page to be able to see how each canvasser did, total door knocks, total completes, and so on for each canvasser, and then a total at the bottom showing the results for all canvassers, and another field of data at the bottom that shows averages. We've also added some other columns, like how many hours did the canvasser spend doing this? How many dollars in compensation did that canvasser receive? What was the percentage of yeses? That being, what number of yeses were received for each of the completes that were made? Or to the left of the circle, you see the percent completes, which is a similar but not as meaningful metric that shows completes divided by door knocks. What percentage of door knocks were actually completes? And we've added some other new columns, one of which is total donations, that aggregates total cash plus total checks plus total credit cards, so we know how many dollars in donations have been achieved. Wouldn't it be interesting to know how many donations were achieved by each canvasser by hour, or how many dollars in donations for each dollar we paid to each canvasser? We could then get a handle on how good a return we were receiving from each of the canvassers. We can look at it in another way, though. If we look at the column that says percent yeses, we see that the average of the percentages is 10%. So of those canvassers, those from 10 to 17% were more productive than average, and those who show as below 10% were less productive. Another very meaningful metric, because it enables us to understand who is doing well and who is doing less well, and to find ways to use those things that the productive canvassers are doing and apply them to the less productive canvassers, or even to find ways to further incentivize the highly productive canvassers and maybe get rid of those who are not as productive. And we can take the same approach with zip codes. In this case, we've done the same process. This is the zip code comparison that shows for each zip code, a row in the table, how effective those zip codes were. And you see in the case of percentage of yeses here, once again, that the average or mean is 10%, And those zip codes that got 10% or better were obviously more productive than those that did less well. Specifically, 30076 did poorly. Would we not want to focus our canvassers on the better zip codes and less effort on the less productive zip codes? You wouldn't have any way to easily ascertain that with a spreadsheet. All of this is possible because of 4 characteristics which, when taken together, uniquely define MetaGami. The first is that it's simple. For most everything a user would do, it's as simple to use as Excel, or in many cases, even easier. Dynamic is, certainly Excel is dynamic, but MetaGami's level of being dynamic is so much more valuable. You can do so much more in terms of analytical power and ad hoc responses to what you think you now want to look at in the MetaGami environment. Customizable is another meaningful element in this particular spreadsheet example. Spreadsheets are spreadsheets. The paradigm is a spreadsheet, and everything is going to look like a spreadsheet. But real data doesn't necessarily look just like a spreadsheet. And as you've seen here, with MetaGami, you create pages on which spreadsheets could be an object, or tables, which are more typically used than spreadsheets. But the other objects could be character data, images. They could even be a word processing field, barcodes, anything you can put on a piece of paper, plus audios and videos are merely field types in MetaGami and allow you to build exactly the kind of application or analysis you're seeking that not only does what you want, but looks the way you want it to look. And the fourth characteristic, which when taken with the other 3 uniquely differentiates MetaGami, is its ability to integrate all kinds of data. As I've said, word processing and computational activities can be conducted in the same application with MetaGami as audios and videos and images all integrated together with a single common interface to all of them. So, to reiterate, Excel is very effective and very functional for many, many kinds of tasks, just as the 2004 Camry is very, very functional for the tasks that my grandson needs to perform. But when you're looking for pure power, for the ability to do things on the fly, respond to the moment, and provide very effective analytical power, MetaGami is the tool that you should take a look at.